everyone and welcome back to another episode of Rift News, the show that becomes obsolete faster than Jinx in bot lane. I know, all of you are waiting for all the Darkin lore. Well, don't worry, I am working on it. I'm just moving to a new place and I'm getting sucked up alive. Sucked as in the bad way, not the good way. Anyway, our last episode of news got released just as some new PBE info arrived. So, let's begin there. 7 new skins got bunched up in a new cycle. 6 of these are world champions and the last one is a Hextech skin. Obviously, because last year belonged to Samsung Galaxy, that's the skin line we are getting. I would say this might be the highest quality world championship skins we have gotten so far. You might notice new glowy special effects, brand new models, amazing color scheme and overall something that gets closer towards the 1200 RP skins. So, obviously we are getting skins for Gnar, Jarvan, Ezreal, Taliyah, Xayah and Rakan. Each of these skins have a unique recall animation with the player's signature at their feet. And as always, we got a funny and semi-cringy video of the players showing Riot what recall animations they would like to have. I mean, that's a Jarvan with an umbrella, a thing of beauty and grace. The Hextech skin that came with this cycle is Hextech Poppy. You guys know I love Hextech. I love Piltover and the color blue. But there is something peculiar about this skin. In her splash art you can see Hextech Poppy in what seems to be a museum. You have Hextech Alistar's head on the right, I think Hextech Kog'Maw's head on the left, but more importantly it seems like she is holding an image of a Hextech Voidling in her hand. A Voidling that looks far too close to that of Malzahar. So I wouldn't be too surprised if this splash art teased the next Hextech skin already. The same cycle also brought in a ward skin called Rune Ward. This was later renamed to World Rune Ward, finally confirming that the rune Ryze is holding in his splash art is indeed a world rune, since it looks exactly the same. It's funny that this hasn't been confirmed up until now. Next up we have Aatrox. People call his rework the worst yet, or just okay. But honestly, I like the swordsman style and apparently he is now at roughly 55% win rate, so he can't be as bad as people say. Maybe you're just playing him wrong. He's not like Riven in a sense where you can go all in on a champion and kill him. Aatrox is more about pre-planning and knowing when to engage and when to disengage. But what's new about this already new rework is that Aatrox is now getting his banner wings back. Honestly, I hated these things. I understand what they were supposed to represent, but I really like the armored warrior Aatrox more. Well, thankfully we are getting both. You can now toggle Aatrox's wings on and off. This should satisfy all the players that complained about this. Just keep in mind that Riot had to do this for all of his skins, meaning that a ton of work had to be added onto their plates. They had to give his model a new frame for the wings, meaning that all of his skins got very slightly changed. And yes, this includes all of his chromas too. But we're not done with PBE yet. There are also new special effects for Sheen and its items. Again, very long time ago it looked like Nunu's blood boil. Then it was turned into orange stars that cling onto the champion's hands. And now the brightness was dimmed down a bit. We can assume that this was done to reduce the visual noise in League. The more bright and flashy effects you have, the less all of them are visible. You can notice this on Lichbane the most. That purple glow is far better than the sharp lines that came from the old version. Iceborne Gauntlet also dimmed it down, but now we got some sparkles on top of it. The sparkles might be counterproductive though, so let's see how it ends up. Again, you can leave your feedback in the post where Riot King Cobra revealed these changes. In a different post, Riot Lexical revealed something very interesting. These days, when you really want to improve at League, you go to a site like op.gg or maybe sometimes LoLking, I guess. These sites give you detailed statistics on how well certain champions do in the current patch. Well, Riot is trying to remove yet another reason to leave their client. So now, you'll be able to check out your own stats on the champions you play. This includes your objectives control, vision score, kill conversion ratio, and even your roam dominance score. But better than this, you'll be able to compare your own stats to other players in a skill level of your choosing. So let's say that I play Bard, and let's say I want to look at how I can improve. Well, I can choose Platinum rank, choose Bard, and it will show me my own stats compared to others. So if I see that, for example, I have way more kills than other players, maybe I should let my AD carry get some of the kills instead. Their new stats will also rank your own champions, so you'll know who you just like playing and who you are actually good at playing. And the last addition is that you can even compare your stats to pros, just in case your ego was too high. That's pretty much it when it comes to PvE. Live servers got affected by two new things. The Versus event launched, but more importantly, there were some issues. Some players may have noticed that the missions weren't updating, so it was impossible to progress forward, and people missed out on free tokens. So to win back the players' favor, Riot extended the event by 24 hours. The post that announced this was written on the NA boards, but hopefully this extension will affect all servers. The other thing that we need to mention is that all of Riot's social media skins will be gone by the 1st of August. By these I mean Riot Girl Tristana, Unchained Alistar and Dread Knight Garen. Riot Girl Tristana and Unchained Alistar will be removed until Riot figures out how to let them come back. This may take more than a year though, so don't miss out on these free skins. Dread Knight Garen is something else though. This skin started as a normal skin for 975 RP, and getting it for free was more of a bonus. So now that the promotion is ending, Dread Knight Garen will stay in store for its normal price. And before we move on to Nexus, we need to mention Riot's merch. Summer has arrived and Riot followed on it with a Fizz onesie. I still don't know why people really wear those. Every time I did so was just to have fun. I still need to find a practical use for it. But Fizz onesie is a thing now. Besides that, Riot also offers an XL version of the Tibers plushie. A lot of new shirts with pockets, I know all of you are going to go for Ahri, and a brand new mousepad. But now let's have a look at Nexus. The first post was written by Riot New and it talks about the relaunch of Clash. If you don't know what we're talking about, Clash is a server-wide tournament where you and 4 of your friends compete against other pre-made teams, preferably while being as much of a tryhard as possible. Clash was released a couple times already, but last time when the true launch hit live servers, something went down and everything broke. Games weren't starting, automatic loss were granted, and stuff like that. So instead of going big again and risking everything, Riot decided to go with small one-day tests so they can see if their fixes worked. It all went smoothly for EU Northeast, Oceania, Korea, Russia, Thailand, Singapore and the Philippines. However, there still were a bunch of problems in Vietnam, Turkey and EU West. The problems stand on the fact that Riot's platform was created quickly as a giant service. This platform tells your client who you're matched with, when does your game start, and even what skins everyone has. But because it does so many things at once, and it has to be constantly rolling, it is really hard to debug. And over time, Riot tried to help the platform cooperate with their needs. Here it was described as, it's like rebuilding a plane mid-flight. The main issue is that Clash works in its own unique way. It has to match together players and create a huge number of games simultaneously, which means it has to do that on top of all the other things it normally does. When beta tests went fine, they felt confident in this system standing up. But we all know what went down. So right now, Riot is trying to fix Clash both in the short term and in the long run. In the short term, they will now give teams variable scouting phases. Some teams will have it shorter and some longer. This will spread Clash games over a longer period of time, so the platform doesn't have to launch everything at the same moment. In the long run, Riot will focus on breaking out the aspects of the platform that are critical to game starts, which will make it easier to debug and fix. But until they do that, they will have to stop all testing in all regions. So their current plan is to go through 3 phases. First is to go through another PBE phase. Then there will be regional testing. These will have free entries and will vary from 1 to 3 day beta tests. And then finally, we will get our Clash launch. Hopefully once that happens, Clash will live up to all the hype it was supposed to fulfill. And now onto the last part, which is Ask Riot. This time we got 3 simple and yet heavy questions. Let's start with the first one. How do you decide on the world's winner skins? This one was answered by Riot Supercakes. Over the last year, Riot updated their approach to selecting the skins to celebrate the winning teams and players. This was done to adapt to teams experimenting with their rosters. So now they ask the players to meet at least one of the following conditions. Number 1. Participate in at least 2 play-in games that had an impact on the team's advancement to the knockout game. Number 2. Participate in at least 2 group stage games that had an impact on the team's advancement to the knockout game. Or number 3. Participate in at least 1 knockout stage game, quarters, semis or finals. They have also added special criteria for which champions players can choose. The most important one is that the player had to play the champion at least once during Worlds. If the winning team already has a skin on that champion, they have to pick another one. And last year they also changed the policy that prevented them from picking a champion that had another skin scheduled. The example of why this happened was SKT Jhin. Unless there are extraordinary circumstances, the limit to the World Championship skins is 6 per year. Coaches are usually considered for an in-game item if they have done something special, like winning 3 championships. And the last thing worth mentioning is that Riot changes the way they approach themes. After the feedback they got around the 2016 SKT skin line, the team realized they could have done something better than just journeys and headphones. So now you can notice that the new skins reflect the taste and attitude of that team. Why doesn't Crucible remove suppression? This question was answered by Riot Repertoire. The answer can be summed up fairly easily. As its cleansing has become more like QSS, which now removes only CC effects and not all debuffs, the thing is, champions that heavily rely on suppression would be negatively affected by this. The reason why QSS works is because the champion who has to counter suppression in lane has to burn gold on that item. And once they have it, the suppression champion can just focus someone else. With Mikhail's Crucible, however, only one champion has to get it, and that champion would be able to counter all of the heavy CC on any of his allies. So this one item would effectively counter any of the threats. And the last question, why does Pyke have an indicator to show when his ultimate will execute people, but Darius and Urgot don't? This one was answered by Riot Endless Pillows. While they try to have consistency across all champions' mechanics, there are exceptions to every rule. It is important to look at the abilities in the entire kit to see the full gameplay, and not at each and every ability on its own separately. For Darius, finding the perfect moment to execute someone as soon as possible is part of his gameplay. It adds excitement to the spell and lets players express their skill. For Pyke, the real goal is to share gold from the kill. It is a mechanic that helps the social side of being an assassin support. At least the team won't be mad at you for stealing all the gold as a support. If it was too hard to pull off the execute, this ability wouldn't really release tension between teammates, but rather create more tension. His ultimate is also a skill shot to grant the bonus satisfaction from being accurate. Also, if it doesn't land a killing blow, he gets himself into a risky situation. Pyke is also very fragile compared to Darius and Urgot. He has to be sure what he's doing because one mistake might cost him everything. With that said, Urgot is very close to all of this. The part where a player says to himself, "Yep, that looks like 25% to me," doesn't really scream skill. So, in the future, all percentage-based abilities will likely have an indicator. And that's it for this episode of Rift News. Again, sorry for not releasing the Darkin lore yet, but I am literally drowning in IKEA right now. I'm moving to a new place and it's far more horrible of a process than I thought. But anyway, if you like this video, feel free to rate it and subscribe for more lore and news. If you'd like to chat or if you'd like to know what I'm doing, our social media, Twitch, merch and P.O.Box will be in the description. Of course, massive shout out to our patrons for going the extra mile, you guys are amazing. And with that, thank you so much for being here and for your support, I really appreciate it. And as always, thank you come again.